And good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Real Fellas Talk Sports. And by the way, Earl Go-Go Rush is disappearing in the screen, but welcome, Earl Rush. How you doing, Earl?
I'm doing great, David. How you doing, Charles Larry?
Great, Go-Go. Great.
Chuck Snowden, using your formal name, Charles Snowden the second. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing wonderful, David. You know how I feel about Wednesday, 8 o'clock. We get to chop it up, and I can't wait.
Larry Abels, the voice of reason in this panel. How you doing, Larry?
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure to put on me, but I'm doing all right.
I know you are. I know you are. We've had a lot of things to discuss. We talked about a few of them on Monday on our production meeting. We're going to carry it over to tonight here on the show. And of course, we're going to start with the NFL. A lot of things happening in the NFL. What is happening to Miami? Now, they destroyed Denver. We're scoring 70 points, 70-20, I believe. And then they get beat by Buffalo, get blown out by Buffalo. I'm going to start with you, Larry. What happened?
Buffalo it was Buffalo's day. I know I'm not going to I'm a Miami fan. I'm not giving up on them after one game. They lost to a good team, scored 20 points. Their defense didn't show up. But I still think they're among the best teams in the league.
Chuck.
I agree with Larry. Look, the running back the week prior, the one that came over from San Francisco, Gossard or something like that, he had only 7 yards rushing, and he fumbled twice. So they just didn't they weren't hitting on all cylinders. It wasn't that Tua played bad, but I just don't think that running back had a good day, and the defense didn't show up.
Earl Rush, you are the sports doctor, and I know you have some thoughts about Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, who played brilliantly but has struggled at other parts of the season. What did you see in that game with Buffalo handling Miami easily?
I thought that overall the media and I guess general public jumped the gun and jumped on Miami's favor because they had won by like 50 points the week before, and they didn't take into consideration that there's a lot of parity in the league, and Josh Allen is not a bum. He's just been struggling right now, and I think people overrated Miami team. That's all.
But should one game though kind of really give us a sense of what the team is about, or should we be prepared to let the season play out and go from there? And I'll just go back to you, Earl.
Yeah. Just 17 games, you should definitely let the season play out. I mean, because it's a long season. Somebody could get hurt. Somebody could come out of the blue with great performances the rest of the season. You never know. You have to wait till the end of the season.
Larry, your thoughts?
One game is obviously not a scientific sample, because if we want to do that, let's go back to Miami's previous game, 70 points. I doubt if they can score that every week. So I think you have to look at the whole package. That's why I'm not placing too much importance on this last game.
Chuck.
Look, Josh Allen had a monster game. He had 4 touchdowns passing. He had another touchdown running. Steph Diggs was awesome. That Buffalo Mafia crowd up in Buffalo, Look, when Josh is playing great and not turning the ball over, they're a really tough team to beat. They're really strong.
Now, speaking of Buffalo, now at some point, you know that The weather's going to play a factor in Buffalo, and Buffalo has been on the verge for, I don't know, 4 or 5 seasons now. And Josh Allen has been a key component in that resurgence. But is their window closing? Is this the year that they have to show that they can actually win something more than just a playoff game? And Larry, let me start with you.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. I mean, Josh Allen is still a pretty young guy, and he's certainly the key to that team. Gus Diggs has been around for a little while, but he seems like he has a few good years left. Odds of them winning this year is probably, I don't know how much better it is. It depends on what Kansas City does, but I wouldn't say their window was closed. I wouldn't give up on them anytime soon.
Chuck.
I agree with you. The only thing I think Buffalo needs to add is a running back. Their running back situation is still, not maybe up to par, but I'm telling you, when Josh Allen is playing well, they're tough to beat. He is the running back, actually, when they're playing well.
Earl.
I forgot what the question was. I know you're talking about Buffalo, but I didn't know how you phrased it.
Is their window closing? Is this the year that they've got to show that they are one of the dominant teams, if not the most dominant team in the NFL?
Nah, I don't even think their window's open yet. They got to get some more people to me.
Okay.
No, their window's not closing.
All right. Speaking of Buffalo, initially, at least the last couple of years, we thought their main opponent has been the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, who have actually shown that they are a dominant team with 2 Super Bowl wins in the last number of years. But Kansas City doesn't look like Kansas City. And let me start with you, Earl. What's going on with Kansas City? I know they have a 3-1 record. I know they still have Patrick Mahomes, but Mahomes has thrown a couple of INTs. He threw a couple of them this past Sunday. Where is Kansas City in the mix now? Are they still the team to beat?
They're still the team to beat to me because they have Patrick Mahomes, to me, who is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. Even though he is not playing like the number 1 quarterback. The statistics don't show he's the number 1 quarterback. He's the number 1 quarterback, in my opinion. So, Kansas City, they also been working on their offensive line. They've been working on it for the last 3 years, and they don't have a lot of weapons. A lot of people think that the loss of Tyree did not hurt them, but it definitely hurt them. They don't have any great offensive players out there playing right now. The running back.
Whoa! Wait just a minute. Travis Kelce, Mr. Media, with the new girlfriend. He's still on that team. He's still on that team.
You're right. I did leave. You're correct. I did leave his name out, but he hasn't done so much this year. His name didn't even come up. But he is a weapon. But other than him, he's not. He hasn't done anything this year. So I guess.
Chuck, your thoughts.
Earl is absolutely right. He's absolutely right. Look, Kelsey's has 17 receptions, and he's leading that team in receptions, and he missed the game. And so they just don't have the weapons. The receivers are not that good. The running back, except for Pacheco, he's okay. They should be fortunate to be 3-1, to be honest with you. I think they'll still be okay. They got a great coach. They got a great quarterback. But they don't. I agree with Gogo. I just don't think they have the weapons.
Larry.
Well, I remember the first game, the defensive end, what's his name? Jones?
Chris Jones.
Yeah, he didn't play, and Kelsey didn't play. So
correct.
I kind of threw that game out a little bit in terms of their performance. But I still think Kansas City's a formidable opponent for anybody. Anybody they play against, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk, and they're liable to beat anybody. They appear to be a little more beatable this year. But let's see how it goes during the season. I'm not ready to give up on them yet.
Well, let me talk about a team that a lot of folks, including myself, are about to give up on, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. The resurgent Cincinnati Bengals the last few years with Joe Burrow, who's had several great seasons. The Bengals were the team that's supposed to have been on the verge, the team that was prepared, other than Buffalo, to knock off Kansas City. Right now, the Bengals look like, to quote Earl Rush, trash. That's what they look like. Let me start with you, Larry. What's going on with the Bengals, and is Joe Burrow? We know he's injured, but is that the only problem with the Bengals?
Well, I think that is a significant problem. He doesn't have lateral movement. And you take away a quarterback's legs, they've tried to adjust by having them pockets and giving them extra protection. Wide receiver Chase is upset he's not getting the ball a lot. So yeah, they have some problems, but I think Burrow's health is very important there. And they still have Baltimore in their division, and I think Baltimore is actually a better team than them anyway. So yeah, they're going to have a battle if they don't get it together soon.
Earl.
Forgive me today, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do more than one thing at one time.
Cincinnati. How good is Cincinnati? How good is Cincinnati is the question.
I'm sorry. Cincinnati, they're struggling. They got problems. And I think that the quarterback's calf is bothering him more than what they're saying, because he looks like he doesn't look very well at all. And he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, to me, in my opinion. Cincinnati, their season's over.
Okay. I think that's a fair assessment. Cincinnati looks like they're out of it at this point. But again, it's still a long season, 13 more games to play. Chuck, weigh in on that.
They had a slow season or slow start last season too, and recouped. But I think we've all said it perfectly. Burrows is hurt, man, and if he's hurt, that team is just okay. I think it's just that simple. And T. Higgins, the other receiver, opposite of Chase, I think he's now down. So the injury bug has hit that team. I want to make one last comment too before we move on for that one. Back to Kansas City. Kansas City doesn't have Eric Bieniemy this year too. And maybe Eric Bieniemy should be getting some more credit.
But haven't we been talking about that? Yes, I totally agree.
And so maybe that's impacting their ability to score because he's more clever and he takes advantage of some of and hides their weaknesses and so forth. So I think missing Bieniemy factors into some of the Kansas City.
Well, maybe we need to start the drumbeat on Eric Bieniemy's real true value with the Kansas City Chiefs, because he got no credit, zero credit, zero credit for years, even though he was the offensive coordinator.
And he's doing a good job. And he's doing a good job with Commanders.
He got a lot of credit. People just wouldn't hire him as a head coach, but I thought he got a lot of credit.
I don't think so. I mean, because he didn't call plays, and that becomes the bugaboo, in terms of how at least the media and the public assess whether a coach is effective or not. Forgetting about the fact that an offensive coordinator's real job is Monday through Friday.
Well, he seems to be the best known offensive coordinator to me. That's why I was thinking he's gotten some credit now.
But look, Larry, if he got credit for it, he would have been hired.
If he'd have gotten true credit, I totally agree. If he'd gotten the kind of credit that most offensive coordinators tend to get, he would have been a head coach several years.
The guy who's coaching the Giants, he came from Buffalo. He got the opportunity to get the head coaching job with the Giants.
Well, when we're talking about credit, it depends on what you're talking about. I think the media is giving him plenty of notoriety and credit. That's why it's an issue that he's not hired. So people are recognizing it. The owners
I understand your point. You're making a good point.
Yeah.
You're making a good point. But let's talk about a coach that, in my estimation, is grossly, ridiculously overrated. His name is Sean Payton. New head coach of the Denver Broncos, just got beat by 50 points. They finally won a game. The battle of the worst teams in the league, the Bears and the Broncos, and I'm going to start with you, Charles. What did we get out of a game between Denver and Chicago? They are arguably the 2 worst teams in the NFL right now.
I actually agree with you at this point. I think that I think Denver, I don't know that Denver has a lot of talent. I really don't think they do. I saw something today where their $70 million edge rusher, Gregory, they're cutting him, and that's going to take away even more talent off that team. So that was a heck of a comeback they had against Chicago. But I'm not. I just think Denver is short of talent. I really do. I feel bad for Chicago, by the way, because I think Justin Fields had played really well for 3 quarters, and then he kind of exploded in the 4th quarter.
Let's explore Justin Fields, and he's struggling. This is probably the year at which Chicago will have to make a decision. And I'm going to go to Larry to just some thoughts on Fields as a quarterback and the Bears as an overall team.
Bears as a team are horrible. Fields, he's had a lot of different coaches. It's hard. He has not done it yet. I'll say that. He looks like he has potential, and I'm a believer that potential is something you should have when you're in college. You get to the NFL, you need to produce. Still don't know about him. If he got in a more stable situation, like say if he was in a situation like San Francisco, would have a great offensive coordinator and some stability, he may do better, but the jury's still out on him.
Earl.
I believe you put Justin Fields on San Francisco's team, he'd be in the ranking for most improved player from last year. He'd be in the ranking for MVP of the league. See, Justin Fields has nobody on his team. Nobody on offense. He has nobody on defense. His coach is an imbecile. I mean, what can you expect? What can you expect him to do? I mean,
preach, Earl.
Preach. I mean, I know it takes time, but they don't have anybody. There's nothing you can do if you don't have anybody on your team.
Well, and in fairness to what's going on with Fields, is he has struggled. He's made some significant mistakes over the last 3 seasons, and he should be better than he is. But you make a good point, Earl. But when you say placing him on San Francisco, I think that takes away from the guy who is arguably playing the position the best right now, and that is Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy. I know it's hard for some of us to wrap our heads around his excellence, but he's not lost a regular season game. All he does is actually get the ball to the receiver every single time. Let me start with you, Chuck. Brock Purdy, is he the key to San Francisco, or could Fields from Chicago, like Earl is suggesting, go to San Francisco and be just as good as Purdy, Brock Purdy?
I'm not going to knock Purdy because you're right, David. The bottom line is winning, and he has been winning. But I don't know yet that Brock Purdy is special. I do believe that coach is special. I think Shanahan knows what he's doing. I think that team is loaded. I think that GM knows what he's doing in terms of adding talent. And I do believe if Justin was there, Fields was there, that he would be coached up, just like the Jacksonville coach. When he got there, all of a sudden Trevor Lawrence started playing better.
Well, can I throw something back at you?
Mm-hmm.
Not just anybody can go in there and play the system. Trey Lance, number 3 draft pick by San Francisco just a couple of years ago, failed. Now I know he got hurt, but he failed when he did play, and he was expected to be better than Justin Fields.
Well, I think you said it, David. He got hurt. We don't know what Trey is. And by the way, Brock stepped in and he took over and he did well. So they didn't really need to wait on Trey, right? But I will say that same coach, Garoppolo, wherever his name is, went to the playoffs. And like Larry mentioned in the production meeting the other night, they didn't even have a quarterback in the playoff game against Philadelphia, right, Larry?
Right.
And they were competitive. I think that Shanahan knows what he's doing.
Larry, your thoughts?
Ask the question again, because I got lost.
At this point, Brock Purdy, is he for real, or could somebody like Justin Fields step in and be just as good, if not better?
I don't know if Justin Fields could be just as good because I think the jury's still out. I think it would benefit from the stability that they have there. But no, I think Purdy's okay. I don't, you said he's playing the best this year. I'm not sure about that. I think Tua is certainly, played well. I think Purdy's got like 5 touchdown passes. He has 0 interceptions. But it's a lot of people that have more yardage than him, and Purdy's done okay. San Francisco, I think there's lots of people that some of the other people like if Tua went there, I think he'd be great there too.
Well, let's just stay with with San Francisco just for a moment. San Francisco looks like they have the most complete team.
Yep.
And we've talked this year, particularly this year, about running backs. I'm going to talk about a running back who, to me, has reestablished the true value of what a running back means to a meaningful team. And that's Christian McCaffrey. Because Christian McCaffrey is now in the discussion for MVP. In a year when running backs are making the least amount of money collectively as they ever have. Larry, you pick that up. What do you see in Christian McCaffrey?
McCaffrey has been good. When he's been healthy, he's been one of the best running backs the whole time. I think the amount of money he makes has no bearing to how valuable he is. I mean, there's other running backs like Dalvin Cook that was high usage last year. Probably should have been in the MVP conversation. They're always going to give it to a quarterback. I mean, that's the problem there.
It's a quarterback's award now.
Yeah, but McCaffrey, I mean, he's been pretty consistent. When he's healthy, he's good.
Well, in fairness to Christian McCaffrey, because I think you're not even giving him the kind of praise that I would like to give him. I hit some of the moves he's made. It's been spectacular.
I'm not giving him the praise this year because I think he's been doing it this whole time that he's played. I don't think this year is anything.
He's an outstanding back.
Yeah, he's been good.
But to the further part of the question, and I'll move this over to Chuck. Running backs, at what point do they reestablish their true value?
Well, let me ask you this question, David. I'm gonna sabotage this whole thing. So, who is more important to the San Francisco 49ers? Christian McCaffrey or Brock Purdy?
Right now, I think they're both equally important. So
I think there are teams who take advantage of whatever talent they have and utilize that, like the Titans did with King Henry, like your Colts did actually with Jonathan Taylor. So I struggle a little bit with how these positions are capped. Kelsey can't get what Tyreek gets because he's a tight end. So I struggle a little bit on that. Bottom line is McCaffrey, he's an MVP candidate this year so far, if the season was ending right now. That's
Earl. Well, let me move it to Earl. Earl, your thoughts about Christian McCaffrey and the running back position overall?
I think Christian McCaffrey, whatever, how you pronounce his name, is a very good running back. I think he's a great running back if he has a good offensive line. If he doesn't have a good offensive line, I think he's a very good running back. Brock Purdy is a serviceable quarterback on a great team. That's all. Brock Purdy is nothing. There's nothing special about him. He just don't make mistakes, but he has a good team. On the running back situation as a whole, I don't know what the running back can do to get back to get paid what they're supposed to get paid. I don't know why they stopped paying them. So I don't know what they need to do to get back. I don't even know why they stopped getting paid.
Well, my opinion is that they're moving the money over to quarterbacks, and running backs were the easy scapegoats for that, because running backs still score at least 40-50% of the touchdowns that are scored in any game every season. And yet you can say that they're not that valuable.
Hey, David, I don't want to move away from something because I think that you are really a Brock Purdy fan, and I understand that. They've been winning. But is he better than Herbert from the Chargers?
Yes. Right now, he is better.
You would take You would take
Uh,
Brock Purdy over Herbert. If you
yes,
were
I
a GM.
would. Yes, I would.
Is
Yes,
he
I
better
would.
than Tua?
Yes.
Okay, well then you really okay.
Well, no, I'm just looking at the facts.
Well, he's
And-
on a
and-
good. Okay,
Yes,
it's
he's on a good
like
team,
when Dilbert.
but
It's like when,
Tua's on a good team as well. Herbert is on a reasonably good team, offensive team, and right now the one guy who seems to be a perfect fit for his team. The quarterback still has to execute. He still has to get the ball to the receiver. He still has to hold on to the ball. That's something, for instance, that Josh Allen struggles to do. So I think Brock Purdy right now, and I'm not going to say at the end of the season, 13 games from now, he will be, but as we speak, he's the best quarterback right now. That's how I look at it.
in the National Football League.
What league are we talking about? College football?
I'm actually wondering what you are talking about. To be honest, with you.
All I know
Boy.
is Brock Purdy's winning and he's doing well. He had 300 some yards passing and he had very few incompletions and no interceptions. He's a pretty good quarterback.
Okay.
Let's move on.
All right.
Let me ask you guys this. The NFL's two longest tenured coaches, Mike Tomlin from the Pittsburgh Steelers and Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots. They've been around for more than a decade in each case. Belichick is verging on becoming the all-time coaching wins leader in the history of the NFL. Why are those two guys with their teams struggling? And let me just start with you, Larry.
Because they don't have good players on their teams. It's really that simple. Both of them have, they have inexperienced quarterbacks back there, I thought Tomlin was like a magician last year to finish above 500, and I'm rooting for him to finish above 500. Tom Brady left the Patriots. It made a difference, okay? Good players equal wins.
Okay. Earl.
I think, wow. Dementia.
Tomlin and Belichick.
Okay. Belichick he's like behind the times. I mean, I know he's the greatest NFL coach ever. I got that. I'm never going to say anybody's better. I'm not going to say Lombardi or whoever. But he hasn't kept up with the times. I mean, back several years ago, he could get away with not having no offense and getting lucky and having a good defense. But nowadays, there's too many teams scoring out here. Their offense is putrid. They can't win anything. He's either going to have to get a new general manager or he's going to have to go.
Now, did it? In fairness to Belichick, well, actually, I'm not being fair to him. Did he initiate his own demise last season when he had a failed defensive coordinator running the offense?
Oh my God, that was a good point.
I mean, what was that about?
Pat Patricia.
I believe, in my opinion, you got to put too much emphasis on. You all give the offensive coordinator too much credit. It don't matter who's the offensive coordinator. When has Belichick? He's never had anybody on this team since Randy Moss. And he's been the general manager all this time. He just don't know how to pick players. Just because you know how to coach and can be the greatest coach in the world, doesn't mean you know how to pick talent. His talent is
whoa. All I know is
name one star he's had in the last 10 years besides offensive star besides Randy Moss. Just name one.
Gronk.
Yes.
Gronk.
We can stop right there. One of the greatest tight ends in the history of the NFL.
He's not even better than the boy you're talking about, Kelsey. So get out of here with that, Gronk.
Excuse me. Right now,
okay. I mean,
Gronk is one of the greatest tight ends historically. He has historically great numbers. We can't debate that.
I didn't debate that. I just said he wasn't better than Kelsey. Don't put words in my mouth. I just said he's not better than Kelsey. So don't say
at the end of his career, you're probably right. but in the peak of his career, he's as good as anybody who's ever played that position. And so I'm just saying. So
I think
if
Earl
you-
hit I think the bigger point Earl makes is right. They are short on talent.
Okay, and I don't disagree
so
with that.
I think that is really, and I don't know if the general manager, is failing the coach in terms of providing him some good players. And you're right, David, that having that Patricia as his offensive coordinator last year, I think that stumped Mac Jones's development. That was a terrible decision, in my opinion. And so I look at the Patriots. I'm worried about Belichick because I think again, goes right. I think the times have passed him. What was he? He was 8-9 last year. He was 10-7 the year before that. 7-9 before that, and then Brady, the year with Brady, he was 12-4. So
Yeah,
that's
the key. That's the
right.
key.
Yeah, Brady. Right. So my point is, I just don't think they have the talent, and I'm wondering if the general manager is failing the coach.
Let me just say a shout out to one of our real fellows, Terry Reed, Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Indianapolis, Indiana, and the Golden Ghetto. Terry, good to see you.
We gotta hear more about that one day, David. The Golden Ghetto.
The Golden Ghetto of Indianapolis, where many of us grew up, including the Grammy Award-winning Babyface.
Hello.
Anyway, I just want to say real quickly hi to my buddy and friend, longtime friend, Ann Stevens, who is watching the Real Fellas. How you doing, Ann? Good to see that you're watching. Good to see that. Anyway, guys, before we move on from the NFL,
but 49ers. By the way, I'm making one quick. I don't think Tomlin. I think Tomlin's okay. I don't think his. Even if his season doesn't turn out great this year, he's had the last 4 or 5 years. He's got enough. He's fine. They just got to decide what they're going to do about quarterback and receiver with.
So, is there any chance that either of those two great coaches, because both of them historically and longevity-wise are great coaches, is there any chance that their jobs are in jeopardy or that they might decide to step down? And let me
I think
Belichick's
job is more in jeopardy than Tomlin's.
No,
okay.
Belichick's 71 years old.
He was never going to fire Bill Belichick. Okay, if that was the case, they would have fired him 6-7 years ago. He doesn't know anything about talent.
Tomlin has never had a losing season.
Right.
Number one, Pittsburgh doesn't fire anybody. They don't anybody that's under contract, they don't fire him. He's safe. I don't know about Belichick. Belichick's a little older. He might just be
71.
running out of gas.
Yeah.
All I can say, and before we move on, is two of the greatest coaches in many years, Mike Tomlin, no losing seasons. Yep. Bill Belichick, we cannot argue that.
Yep.
Longevity-wise, he's the all-time great coach. He may be struggling now, but he's the all-time great coach. Yep. We got the 49ers and the Cowboys coming up this weekend, probably the game of the week. Who wins that game, guys? Larry.
San Francisco wins it.
Yeah.
I'm going with my buddy Larry. San Francisco wins it.
Earl.
Earlier today, I would have gone with San Francisco, but David has pissed me off with this overrating of serviceable quarterback Brock Purdy. I'm going with the Cowboys.
Okay, all right. Let's talk some college football. Earl, that's one of the comments of the evening, and even though it's at my expense, I think it was pretty good. Georgia and Michigan. Are they going to stay 1-2 throughout the rest of the season? Is Georgia really that good? Is Michigan really that good? Let me start with you, Chuck.
I don't think there's any great teams in college football this year. So Georgia could stumble. They're in the tough SEC. And Michigan, look, they don't play nobody till they play Penn State 2 games from the last game of the season. Then they play Maryland. Then they play Ohio State. So for the next 7-8 weeks, They don't play nobody. Nobody. So Michigan could hang in there near the top until they run into Penn State and Ohio State, and then we'll see what happens.
Earl.
No, neither one of those teams will be 1 and 2 at the end of the season.
Who will be?
Good question.
I would probably go with USC, even though their defense is
Oh.
horrible. Even though their defense is horrible, I would go with USC because you can't stop them.
Larry.
Hard for me to tell. I think Chuck raised a good point. It depends on who the schedule is, how the schedule goes. I'm not sure who Georgia plays, but yeah, Michigan got 2 tough games with Penn State and Ohio State. Chances are they'll fall out.
Okay. Let me just say this. Earl mentioned USC. Their head coach, Lincoln Riley. USC has one of the great offensive stars in Caleb Williams at quarterback, a Heisman Trophy winner, and could win back-to-back Heisman trophies. But Lincoln Riley is a horrendously bad defensive coach. He's only offensive oriented. When he was at Oklahoma, it was a terrible defense. He's at USC, terrible defense. Yet he's always talked about as being one of the up-and-coming or soon to be on the verge coaches, the next great one. I don't see it. Larry, let me start with you.
I really don't have an opinion. I'm gonna see my time.
Well, I think he's a great offensive coach. Look, he got Baker Mayfield a Heisman Trophy. He got the little quarterback from the Cardinals a Heisman Trophy. He got Caleb a Heisman Trophy last year. I mean, these are all different kinds of quarterbacks.
But he's a great offensive coordinator.
Okay. So what he needs to do, I guess, is what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. He needs to go get a great defensive mind and let them handle it and make them well.
He doesn't care.
And look, I used to say that about the pros. Buddy Ryan was this incredible defensive coach, and he didn't care about the offense. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think there's some guys who are built that way, but the fact is, Lincoln Riley can coach.
He can coach offense, and we'll just leave it at that. Earl, your thoughts on Lincoln Riley and USC? You say USC could be the next national champion. Why?
Yeah. Because their offense cannot be stopped. That's why. And they can't be stopped. They can't be outscored by anybody.
Well, let me just say this. How good is Colorado? Colorado almost outscored USC and their horribly bad defense. So how many points does USC need against a Georgia? How many points does USC need against a Michigan? How many points does USC need against Ohio State? I just throw that out there. Earl, your thoughts?
I'm not sure how many points USC needs to get against the teams that you named. I just know that they can get enough to beat them.
Well,
I don't know. I can't put a number on it.
Well, a sports doctor, I thought you were going to operate on that question.
No, I'm not going to just say anything outside of my mouth. I don't know how many they're going to score each time, but I know that they can beat them.
All right. I mentioned Colorado. Colorado scored 40-some points against USC and still lost. Tremendous comeback. Deion Sanders has lost his second straight game at Colorado. How do we look at the fanfare and the hoopla of Colorado? Is it over? Should we still be appointment TV with Colorado if Colorado is playing? Earl.
As far as appointment TV, yeah, I guess you can say that because their quarterback is a very good quarterback. Deion Sanders is a very good quarterback, and they have a couple of good offensive players. They can score, but the fanfare is over. They're probably looking at the schedule. They may win one or more or two more games. Now, as far as their whole season, they're above because they're ahead because they only won one game last year. So they've won 3 now, and they might win 4 or 5 the whole season. So I look at that as a win. But they're not winning too many more games. And yes, I guess the fanfare should be over by now.
Chuck, Colorado needs 6 wins to make a bowl game. Can they get 6? They need 3 more.
I took a look because I knew you were going to ask that question tonight. I looked at their schedule. If we're saying they got to win 3 more games, it's going to be it is going to be tough. Will they? I think they'll win 5. I don't know that they're going to win 6. And I still think they're set your time, date TV, must-see TV. And I thought that game against USC was exciting as heck. And they discovered a couple of freshmen in that game, the wide receiver in the corner. And if they can get Travis Hunter back and Shiloh back, they got skilled players on that team, man.
Okay. Larry, your thoughts on Colorado? Are we overhyping them? Is the party over in terms of how we should really view them?
Well, I think the hype comes from their charismatic coach, and I think people, long as he's there, people are going to watch. It's really that simple. Can they win 3 more games? I think it's a possibility that they can. They showed me a lot in the second half against USC. And if they win 3 games, they'll be bowl eligible, and they'll probably get a bowl a little higher than they deserve because bowls are probably about money, and Dion's going to be there, and he could bring in the money and the following and all of that. So I think it's a good chance that they will win 3 games. They'll probably surprise us because the game against USC, they did a lot better, and probably no one gave them a chance against TCU. So they can score a lot. They have to work on stopping people sometimes.
Right.
Looking for them
All right.
to get there.
Hey,
Go ahead, Earl.
I look at that game, and I like Deion and them. I look at that game just like sometimes with a basketball game, team goes up by 35. And the game's over. And then other team makes a decent comeback. People get excited. That's mop-up time. That game was mop-up time over there. Everybody was impressed by how Colorado came back. That was mop-up time last week. In my opinion.
Right.
All right, that's fair. In the last few minutes that we have for the program, we've got to talk some Major League Baseball. The playoffs have begun. Your thoughts right now? We got Texas moving on, beating Tampa. Tampa with a woeful attendance at their game. The Phillies were playing the Marlins. Minnesota has defeated Toronto. Arizona is playing Milwaukee. They're 1-0 against Milwaukee. Any thoughts as we move along in Major League Baseball and we head toward the World Series within the next 3 weeks? And let me start with you, Larry.
I don't know about thoughts about that, but I'll talk about what's happening so far. You had this team with the second most wins in the American League, Tampa Bay with the home games, facing the team that was the highest scoring team in the league, Texas. And when you look at a team that wins 99 games and they get swept, Texas offense was there. I mean, that's all it is to it. The other series that's over with was the complete opposite because it was a pitching duel in both games. Minnesota and the Blue Jays. What was good about yesterday's game, there was a rookie named Royce, I want to say Lewis is his last name, and he had a poor hamstring, and it was a big question of whether or not he'd be able to play. First time up, he hits a home run, then he hits a 2-run homer, and that accounted for all the runs that they had yesterday, and they went on and shut him out today, 2-0 sweep.
He got on base 4 times. He stole 2 bases as well.
Yeah. Hamstring must be doing a little better.
Real quickly, before we move off of baseball and wrap up the show, the Baltimore Orioles, 40 miles from where I used to live, won 100 games. The Baltimore Orioles have been a laughing stock for the last decade. What happened? Is this just an anomaly year? And I'll start with you, Chuck.
So they're 20 minutes or 20 miles or so, not 20 miles. They're about a half an hour from me, David. And I follow sports, as you know. And I guess they've been building that team. And but I got to tell you, I don't know one Baltimore Oriole. I don't know one of them. I don't know one name. That's hard to believe for a team that won the American League East.
Hard to believe you don't know one team's member's name of a team that lives 20 miles away from you as well.
Yeah. Well, you don't either, Earl. You don't know a member of that team either. And members of the 70, and the members of the 71 Baltimore.
First of all, I'm not even going to answer you. I'm not even going to dignify you with this. You have no idea who I know on what team,
Well,
and
prove
you
me
have
wrong.
no idea I could have clicked on when you said that and Googled Baltimore's team roster. So don't even say something like that. You don't know what I know as far as
Oh Lord.
you can't speak.
Oh Lord. All right, that's enough baseball for now. That's enough baseball for now. Closing comments as we close out the show. Let me go around the horn, taking a cue from a television show on ESPN. Let me start with you, Chuck.
All right, I just want to make a quick comment. So Simone Biles, the whole 4'8" of her, won several gold medals in the gymnastic
World Championship.
World Championships this last few days. Now look, she's already won 26 world medals. She's already won 7 or 8 medals in the Olympics. The thing is, when you watch her perform, when you watch her do those things, it's almost like trick photography. It's so amazing to me. The height she gets on her jumps, the spins and the amount. I think she's unbelievable. 26 years old, and she is one heck of a talent. I don't know if she's as good as a Serena Williams was in tennis, but that's how I look at her. In her sport, I think she's special, one of the all-time greats. She might be the GOAT in that sport.
She is the GOAT. Larry, any closing comments?
Yeah, I'm going back to baseball. Miami Marlins are in the playoffs this year. They did something significant that I don't think got enough press. They hired a general manager called Kim Ng. Kim Ng, the first woman to be a general manager of any major sport in North America. That's, football, baseball, basketball, or hockey. She was hired in December of 2020. This year, the Marlins had the best record that they've had in 14 years. So I just wanted to acknowledge her, take my hat off to the job that she did. And I want to give the Miami Marlins some credit, too, for, thinking outside of the box and just, letting her break through that glass ceiling.
In fairness to the Miami Marlins and what you're saying, it always seems like they do more with less and with less money than any team in professional sports, because there always seems to be there, even though they deconstruct the team. Earl, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would like to see the NFL create some type of group or something. Let me see you get an example of what I'm trying to say. You remember when they were getting ready to trade Chris Paul to the Lakers, and he would have been with Kobe and them? And the NFL stepped in and said, no, we can't have that. The NBA said that. The NFL needs somebody to watch these leagues and stop some of these players from robbing people and stop some of these general managers for making ridiculous contracts on it.
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. Are you kidding me? This guy was $40 million. I'm not being like Chuck. I know I'm not paying him. I know that's what the market's paying, but they need somebody in the NFL to say, we can't let you do that. This is ridiculous. We can't let you do that.
You can't. I think you're onto something.
I'm serious.
Because Daniel Jones stunk up the joint the other night. He stunk it up.
You are being like Chuck Earl.
Am I really?
That's a good Earl. That's a compliment. Are you kidding me? He wasn't putting you down. He was complimenting you, Go-Go.
I'm serious. How does this guy get $40 million?
Because he's a quarterback.
Somebody on this show been asking that question for a long time.
Why do we care how much they get?
We do.
We should care about Larry.
Larry, we do.
Why should we care? I don't really care whether they play or not.
Gentlemen,
they play well or not. Isn't that really it? Can they play or not?
Right.
Gentlemen,
he can't
carry that argument into next week. Let me close the show with this. Chuck mentioned Simone Biles and the U.S. gymnastics team that won the world championship, another world championship. Can't say enough about Simone Biles. You made a comparison, Simone or Serena. It's Simone. Enough, and that's not a slam at Serena Williams. Simone Biles has moves named after her. She's won more medals and championships than any woman in the history of that sport. She's brought attention to the sport, and as an African-American woman in a sport that has been dominated not only by young white women, but by young women. She's 26 years old. So shout out to Simone Biles. Keep it up, girl. Keep it up. Anyway, that is our show for this evening. Real Fellas Talk Sports in its third season of excellence and debate and fun.
Nice
We're going to do it again.
Go.
We're going to do it again next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Folks, please tune in.
Okay.